I'm Sebastian Lorber, and I'm going to talk to you about cross-platform, React Native, Jamstack, and beyond. I'm a freelance developer. I'm using React since maybe 7 years, something like that. So I was an early adopter. And these days I'm a freelance. I'm working for Facebook as a freelance. I'm working on Docusaurus, which is the documentation framework built by Facebook, which is quite popular. It powers the websites like React Native, React Navigation, Jest, Metro, Babel, Flipper, and many other projects, even in the Flutter ecosystem too. So this talk is the story of my blog. I wanted 3 years ago to have a blog because I had a lot of ideas for useful technical posts. But the thing is, I wanted the platform to be very advanced. I wanted to be able to run interactive content in it, to try new things, to try new technologies. So the blog, I wanted somehow to be a showcase of all my technical skills. So and I wanted to use React Native Web. React Native Web is a cool technology that I heard maybe like 3 years ago, and I've seen it used by people like Twitter, Uber, and things like that. And the idea is that you can run React Native on the web, and I was very intrigued by this idea. So this is something I really wanted to use on my blog because I wanted to learn about this technology. Sorry, I have something not working. Yes, here. Okay. So the thing is, my blog project was too ambitious, and I wanted to use like all the technologies. I wanted the TypeScript and Lerna monorepos, Gatsby, React Native, Expo, and things like that, and even GraphQL with Gatsby. So the thing is, 2 years later, I still didn't have a blog because this was really too ambitious, and I decided that it was time to stop trying to fit all the technologies in my project because I will never ship anything with it. So I decided to use a simple Gatsby theme, which enabled me to just install it and write some markdown files and have a blog online very, very fast. So I was happy because I didn't use the technologies I wanted, but at least I finally had a blog. So it was nice. But during all this time when I tried to use all these technologies, this was not time lost because I created a plugin, which is the React Native Web plugin for Gatsby. And after trying to use the Gatsby theme Novella that I used for my blog, I noticed that this plugin was working fine in many situations, including in my own website that was based on the Gatsby plugin. So the thing is, I was able to get React Native running on my blog, and this is what I'd like to show you next. So the first part of my talk is about React Native in Gatsby. So we will see a bit about what are these technologies and how they play together. So Gatsby is a static site generator. It's unlike other static site generators like Jekyll and Eleventy and things like that. It builds a real single-page application using React, and although it has a first-class support for MDX, which we'll see is some kind of Markdown extension. The React Native Web is somehow a converter that permits to convert at build time React Native code to React DOM code. So this is pretty simple in theory. You have React Native imports in your code, and there is a Babel plugin that will rewrite these imports to React Native Web, and then React Native Web will re-implement the React Native primitives using React Native DOM elements. So, for example, the React Native view here is re-implemented with a div from React Native DOM. And also the specificities of React Native, like having the layout always flex and having the flex direction column by default is ported to this conversion. So you have a uniform system to build your apps on a React Native or React Native Web. It should render the same if you use the same style. So how do we integrate React Native and React Native Web? Somehow you can see React Native Web like a regular CSS and JS solution for React for the web. So the thing is, when you want to integrate this kind of technology in a static site generator, what you have to do is render the static site generator will render the HTML files on the server. So the idea is that for each page you need to render on the server, you will run render to string to get the markup, but you will also wrap your application with some logic from your CSS and JS framework. And then this CSS and JS framework will be able to give you the critical CSS that was used for rendering this page, so that you can put it in the static page. So this is what happens here. So it's not very different from any other CSS and JS library that you use for React Web normally. So this is a classic Gatsby SSR integration. And once this is done, you can write a Gatsby page like that. So normally a Gatsby page is implemented with view, with div, text, div, span, and things like that, and paragraphs. Here we can see that we are using view, text, and touchable, and things like that. So we are creating a Gatsby page using React Native elements. So does it work? Yes, this is the first prototype I got working. You can see that it's not very advanced, but at least I was happy because it was running, and it was a proof that my idea was possible. So this is the first version of the plugin that I implemented and the first demo. Now I want to share with you some details. For example, here you can see that this is a button. It only uses React Native APIs. And as we have seen, React Native Web is able to convert React Native APIs to React Native Web to DOM APIs. So this button is cross-platform because it can work on mobile and it can work on web too. Now let's take another example. This Gatsby page. You can notice something interesting is that we are using div and headings, but we are also using view, text, and the React Native button, and we are also using a Gatsby link, which is the way we link pages in the React Native, the Gatsby static site generator. So this will work on Gatsby, but this will not work on mobile because we don't have a way to convert the div and heading and the Gatsby link to React Native. So we can convert React Native code to React DOM code through React Native Web, but React Native Web will not permit you to run div and other elements like H1, Anchor, and things like that to React Native. So if you want your code to be cross-platform, you have to restrain yourself to only use React Native primitives because these can run on both platforms, but not the opposite. So now let's talk about MDX. Maybe you've already heard about it. It's somehow an extension of Markdown, which permits you to add React components inside your Markdown content. So for example, if you want to render an interactive widget inside the blog post, it's possible thanks to MDX. Many people today are using it, particularly in the React ecosystem. And the React component that you embed in your blog post, unlike Code Sandbox and things like that, will run directly in the page. It will not run in an iframe or things like that. There is a work in progress for Vue and Svelte support, so I don't know where it is now, but maybe in the future it will be a technology that many use in many ecosystems. I don't know. But I think it's pretty interesting because now we are able to write more interactive content. And for example, if you have a blog post that you want in which you want to embed interesting demos, you are able to do so. So it permits to make the content richer. So here, for example, let's see MDX content. For example, let's imagine it's a blog post. There is a title, there is a paragraph, and there is a button. And then we are creating a Gatsby page that imports this MDX file. So somehow you can consider that MDX content is a React component, so you can import a MDX file in your React application. And if we try to run this with my Gatsby plugin for React Native Web, we can see that it will work. You will be able to have the React component from the blog post that is interactive. You can click on it. So this is the first version of the plugin I got working. I think it's interesting because we keep thanks to Gatsby, we are able to build cross-platform website, but at the same time it's Jamstack, so the output is static HTML files that you can deploy easily on Netlify or Vercel or S3 or whatever, and it's SEO friendly, so you can have a good performance on Google with it. So it's easy to build marketing websites with this. It's also very performant and secure because you don't really have a server. But there are some limits with this version. For example, maybe if you are used to React Native cross-platform, you know that generally you can provide a platform-specific code thanks to the platform-specific extension. So it's common for people that want to support the web to use, for example, .web.js extension, so that you can provide a web-specific code in it. Although the React Native ecosystem is a bit different from the web one, because for React Native we don't transpile the libs. So this is the bundler of React Native Metro is normally responsible to transpile the libraries. But when you use Gatsby and the web ecosystem, it's not like that. We expect the libraries to be already transpiled and be compatible with older navigators and things like that. So the way we distribute libraries should be different. But the thing is, if you want to use a React Native library in Gatsby, you have to tell Gatsby that it has the responsibility to transpile it because it's not transpiled. Also, there is no dev annotation if you want to run a code specific for the dev mode. Maybe you know that Expo has published Unimodules. There was not support for it, and it's not my first version of the plugin was not very user friendly because you had to write some Webpack config to handle all this. So this was not perfect. Let's see what I was able to get working with the next iteration. So the idea was that I should be able to import community libraries without too much pain. So here it's another demo that I built that is using many React Native UI kits like React Native Paper and things like that. So you can see a lot of demos of these UI kits that are usable. So they are running in Gatsby and you can see that they are cross-platform. Here is another demo that I built using React Native Paper, which is basically a to-do list, a cross-platform to-do list. So it's using React Native, but it renders a to-do list on the web. So for this version 2 of the plugin, I was able to add a library transpilation, but the thing is, it was an hard-coded list, and it was still a bit hard to set up. But hopefully, maybe you've heard about Expo. They have done a lot of work on the React Native ecosystem, and particularly in the cross-platform ecosystem. So, for example, they have added the web support to many of their APIs. Expo is somehow a React Native extension, so React Native has a lean core. It doesn't provide much APIs today, so Expo will provide much more APIs like video, camera, font, image picker, and things like that. But the thing interesting is that they published a package called Expo Webpack Config, which is basically the thing they use to support the web. And I was able to reuse this, but this is a package that Evan Bacon published. And this package can be used anywhere Webpack is used. So, for example, if you have a Gatsby site or a Next.js website, or even a custom Webpack configuration, you can just add it. You just have to wrap your existing Webpack configuration with the function they provide, and somehow it enhances your Webpack configuration to provide the proper React Native web support, with also the support for Expo modules like cameras and things like that. So now let's see how we can use the Expo APIs in a Markdown blog post. So for example, here you can see that this is a blog post where I import an Expo video component and I use it. And then if you try to run this in the browser, you have the video that is working. So I was able to make a lot of little demos like this. For example, I have been able to use React Native SVG to render on both mobile and the browser. I was able to use the Expo camera to run on the browser too. So I have a blog post online that you can check if you want to see it in action. I have also a demo about gesture. So for example, if you want to try a React Native gesture handler on the web, it's possible. And also here's a demo about the Expo image picker and the manipulation library, so that you can, for example, load an image and rotate it. And here is another demo about the dark mode switch. So somehow this is a nice example, because the Expo dark mode switch is a third-party library that Evan Bacon published. It's interesting because I think it's one of the first library that was published to one of the first widgets to be published to be cross-platform this way. So it uses some tooling that helps to publish cross-platform packages. And I hope in the future we will have much more libraries that try to publish React Native package for both web and mobile with this ecosystem of new tools. So the takeaway of this part of the talk is that React Native Web and Expo have good web support, and you can build Jamstack websites with a good SEO. And it's not very risky, because if you want to add a web-specific code, you can use a .web.js extension. So for example, you can build a cross-platform mobile application and a mobile website. And if you want to run a jQuery on the website, it's still possible, because you have escape hatches to do so. So I don't know exactly why you should do this. Maybe if you, for example, many people will have different reasons. For example, maybe you have many UI elements that are shared between your marketing website and your application. So for example, you want to reuse your design system on your marketing website, it's possible. So you can share your design system, for example, on mobile and the web. I think it's the good first step to get started with cross-platform. So now let's see about running MDX in React Native, because for now we just run demos on the web, but it's interesting to see if we can run these demos on React Native too. Here is a source blog post that we have using MDX. So it has a title, paragraph, and a React component in it. And now let's see how MDX works exactly. So MDX is somehow a compilation step that will transform your MDX blog post into a JSX component. So the thing is, you can see here the JSX component that was created by MDX compiler. It used DOM elements like div and heading and paragraph. So we'll see later that how to solve this problem, because these elements are not running on React Native. Now let's see how the JSX is transpiled. So there is a Babel plugin which is called Transform React JSX. So JSX is not something standard, so we have to transpile it to regular JavaScript code. So the JSX is transpiled to React create element calls. And we will see something interesting. The problem, as we have seen, is that we have DOM elements in the output of the JSX, the MDX compilation step, but these elements do not run on React Native. Somehow we need a way to convert these DOM elements to React Native so that we can run a blog post on React Native. So there is a technical solution to this problem. It's called the JSX Pragma and the MDX provider. There are probably other possibilities, but I only explored this one. So the idea is that, for example, the Babel plugin transform React JSX, you can put a comment at the top. For example, you can see the comment here, which is add JSX. So the idea is that you can reference the function that will be used as the factory for the JSX element. So for example, if you add this command here and add the import JSX from MDX, you will be able to replace the React create element calls by MDX.JSX calls. And we will see why it matters next. So for example, here you will see what will be the new output. So instead of having create element, you have JSX function calls, which is a function imported from the MDX package. And then, thanks to this Pragma trick, which replaces the JSX factory function, you are able to use the MDX provider, and this MDX provider allows you to say, for example, when you see a div in the markup, then render it this way. So thanks to this technique, we are able to say, for example, if you see a div, instead of using the React DOM div, you will render the div using the view of React Native. So somehow we are writing a compatibility layer which permits to transform React DOM to React Native in some way, thanks to the MDX provider. So the final workflow, for example, here you will the MDX component, once it's compiled with MDX, will look like the first code snippet. And how do you use it? For example, you import the MDX component that is exported from your blog post after compilation, and then you use it in your application and you wrap it with the MDX provider so that the blog post is able to run on React Native despite having the React DOM elements in it, because the MDX will be able to replace them with equivalent React Native code. So in the end, let's try to run our blog post on mobile. We can see that it's possible to get it working, and that it is interactive. So for example, the button that we have here is still working. So the next step is I try to get this working on a real blog post. For example, this is a blog post from my own blog that I try to run on mobile. You can see that there are a lot of more things. There are images. There is front matter, which is the metadata at the top that permits to describe a bit the blog post, like the title and the slug and things like that. And there are images in the content. There is an arrow image at the top. And there are many. It's much more complicated JSX than MDX. I mean, than the first example I show you. So the thing is, I had a lot of errors because trying to run this blog post, but the two most common ones were because I didn't provide an exhaustive list of React DOM to React Native conversions. So somehow it was still trying to use some React DOM elements on React Native, which will fail. So this is the first error. And another error is that React Native is very strict. For example, if you want to render text, you have absolutely to render it into text nodes. Otherwise, it will fail. So my conversion logic was sometimes producing weird output, like trying to render text elements inside a view. So I had to find some tricks to ensure that it never happens. So in the end, the conversion logic from React DOM to React Native looks a bit like this. You have an exhaustive mapping where you try to transform each React DOM element to React Native equivalent element. It's just a part of it here, but you can see that it adds some boilerplate to the solution, so you have to write everything. Otherwise, if you miss a single element, your application may crash. So you have to avoid forgetting that. Another problem that I had with was with the images, because maybe you know that on React Native for the images you have to use a require. For example, you use a require to require the image, and then you get the URI back. The thing is, on the web, it's not exactly like that. For example, on the web, you use just regular paths, like a relative path to an image or things like that. But the thing is, when I tried to write the conversion logic, I had to pre-process the markdown with some logic, so that the image path reference are replaced by React calls at compilation time. Otherwise, it will fail and the image will not render. So I was able to get this working. You can see that this is a blog post on mobile. It's pretty nice, but there is something missing. You can see that there is no title, hero image, there is no front matter. So how do we render this? It's pretty simple. For example, now I will just show an example so that you understand the idea. Let's hardcode the front matter for now. We'll just create an object which contains the title and the hero image, and then we will just render the image and the title at the top of the blog post. And what we get, and then after the first part where we render the hero image and the title, we will render the markdown content. And this is what we get. We can see that there is the image first, then the title, and then the content that is written in Markdown. So this is nice, but what we'd like is to not hardcode the front matter and maybe have a real mobile application, not just a single blog post running on mobile, because it's pretty useless. We will see how we can automate a bit this compilation step, how we can add navigation and maybe integrate it in an existing application. So let's see how we can build somehow a static mobile app generator. The idea of this part is that you have a folder which is full of content. For example, you have a blog folder where you have all your Markdown files. The idea is to process this folder at build time and to generate somehow a list of all the MDX components once they are compiled, so that you can use them in your React Native application. So, for example, the first step here is that you take the content folder which contains MDX files, and for each of them, you will read the file, you will compile it to JSX, and then you will write it down to the disk with the JSX extension. So how does this JSX transformation works? Like I've shown you before, you will add the MDX pragma so that it's able to be compatible from React DOM to React Native. You will extract the front matter with a popular library that does so, and then you will export this front matter as a JSON object so that you don't have to hardcode it. And then you will call the MDX compiler with the remaining Markdown content, and you will obtain the source code the React component that represents the blog post. The second step is that you need somehow to have a list of all the blog posts available. So what you can do is generate a file blog post list.js, which will contain all the blog post lists. So for example, the first part here is the script that permits to do so. And the second part is what the source code of this list will look like if I run it on my own blog. So you can see it's just a regular array which contains all the React components that are useful for my application. The first step is to create a navigation, an application with the navigation. So this is not very complicated. It's using React Navigation version 5. The first screen of the stack is the list of the blog post. The second screen is just a screen to display a single blog post. And now let's see how you implement the blog post list. It's a scroll view in which you list all the blog posts, so there is nothing very complicated here. When you press on the specific blog post card, you will navigate to the blog post to see it, to see the full version of it. And now let's see the blog post screen. So in the same way, it's not very complicated. There is the blog post header at the top, which is basically rendering the Markdown content. And then the blog post header is rendering the front matter content, which is the metadata about the blog post. And there is the MDX component, which represents the Markdown content and the MDX content. So what does it give us? What you can see here is that I was able to have the index of the first screen of the application is showing all the list of all the blog posts, and then you can click on a specific blog post, and it will render in the mobile application in a stack screen. So the thing is, it's interesting because the embedded demos that I added to my web blog post are still able to work on the mobile application. So here you can see that these demos are cross-platform because I implemented them with React Native. So they work on the web thanks to React Native Web, but they also work on mobile thanks to React Native. And you can see that it works fine. So the takeaway of this section is that MDX is really a cross-platform technology. You can, thanks to the GSX Pragma and the MDX provider, you are able to somehow replace the default DOM primitives that are output by MDX compilation step by your platform-specific primitives. So, for example, if you want to render MDX on TV, maybe it's possible because you will be able to replace the DOM elements by the React Native TV elements, for example. We can see also that React Native is a nice cross-platform technology that permits to build content websites built on top of Markdown that works on the web and mobile, and maybe more. And also Expo is cross-platform, as you have seen. The modules that they publish, many of them are cross-platform, so they support both the web and mobile. And the result is that you can build a cross-platform interactive content. So the next part of the talk is about how can we automate this. The idea here is that we will create some scripts like in package.json. For example, here is a script that permits to build the Gatsby site and a script that permits to publish to Expo. So the publication to Expo is basically you compile the MDX and then you run the Expo publication step so that you can publish to the Expo CDN your JavaScript so that it can work on your mobile application. And then, for example, you can use a tool like Netlify, which will permit to run these commands. So, for example, every time you commit a Markdown file or add content to a Markdown file, you will have the Netlify that will run these two commands against your pull request and things like that, and against master maybe also, and then deploy to production the new content automatically so that you don't have to do anything. So this way I was able to publish the mobile application to Expo and to deploy Gatsby on Netlify thanks to Netlify. And so I had support for iOS, Android, web. But the thing is, there is something interesting in the React Native ecosystem is that React Navigation 5 also has web support, and Expo is also able to export a mobile application to the web. So what I wanted to see next is that is it possible to publish to use this to export somehow my mobile application to the web. So for example, here I will just add a new step, which is Expo build web, and this will give me another website, which is the mobile version of my React Native application. So if you want to see it working, here it is. This demo is different from the ones I show you first because this time we are using React Navigation for this website. We are using the web support of React Navigation, unlike the first version where we were using Gatsby. Here, these are two totally different technology stacks. The first one was using Gatsby. This one is using Expo and React Navigation. But the thing is, I was able to get this mobile website for free. Just had to run an extra command in the CI to get it working. So the takeaway is that you just need to commit some content to get it published thanks to the CI tools like Netlify. It's almost everything is automated. But the thing is, sometimes there is a bug in the thing because my conversion logic from DOM to React Native is not perfect. It gives me a mobile website for free. The thing is now every time I commit anything, I have a lot of usage of Netlify, so I have to pay. So this is a drawback of this. So the last part of my talk is there are also new platforms that you probably heard of. For example, in particular, I think React Native macOS and React Native Windows are pretty interesting. And the thing is, I was able to get the MDX and I was able to get blog posts running on React Native macOS. So for example, here you can see it's a React Native macOS try-app. Try-app means it's in the status bar, and it is able to render a blog post that I wrote. So I think it's pretty interesting because you can see that MDX is really is really cross-platform, and you are able to use it almost anywhere. So here I didn't try Windows or TV or things like that because I didn't have time, but maybe in the future I will try to do so. It's pretty useless, but I think it's pretty interesting to try it just to show that it is possible. The takeaway is that you can run MDX everywhere. Like I've said, with the MDX provider, you can write the conversion logic you want. So you can use the platform-specific components that for the platform you target. The nice thing with MDX is that it's native. There is never any web view. None of the demos here are using web views or iframes or things like that. It's really demos that are embedded in the web content, and also the React Native macOS demo, for example, doesn't use web technologies. It's really rendering the blog post natively on the macOS platform. The React Native macOS and Windows platform, I think, are pretty stable now. I don't know if many are using it in production, but I think it's really interesting to give it a try now because my first impression was that it was working pretty nicely. So thank you for listening to me, and if you want to try the demos and also the mobile application, you can scan the Expo QR code here is also a link where you can access all the content and add some extra explanations and many links referencing the material of the talk. And so this is it. Thank you.
Wow, it was amazing. It was so interesting. I actually cannot wait to see the time when my fridge has a React Native app on it, when it tells me that I picked the wrong sausage, or like, enough of those eclairs for me for today. No more eclairs. So, that would be actually funny. That would be actually nice.
So if you are curious, for example, here is the blog post that I showed in the talk. It was using GIF because I didn't want to switch too much. But you can see, for example, it's actually a real website and it's really working. So, for example, you have all the demos here, the toggle for the navbar here, and even I don't know if it works fine for you, but locally it works fine. There is no junk on this animation. And also the mobile website. So this is the version using React Navigation. In the same way, I've tried to do some fancy things with it. Here is the list of blog posts, like you can see. You can recognize at the top the React navigation bar, which is the default one. And for example, in the same way, you can navigate to blog posts like that. And also I've prepared this, so if you want to see it working in action, you can see it here.
Please, if you can post it in our chat, in our common channel, just post it to the chat.
Yeah. I'll post the links to the talk. And the final demo is this one, which is the the blog post on React Native macOS. I think it's pretty nice, but it's totally useful. But it was worth trying.
It looks pretty good. Yeah, thank you.